This is Mujib from North Country Kettlebells. Today I'm going to be talking about a few kettlebell floor press variations and some of the components that go into doing safe and effective kettlebell floor presses. Now, each kettlebell floor press variation is great for practicing press engagement with an easy range of motion on the shoulders. So oftentimes if we have a harder time getting up into the lockout overhead, I'll recommend a floor press for somebody, which we want to think of as more of like a 90-degree range of motion. So instead of the arm having to deal with securing the kettlebell overhead, if we're laying on the ground, the easier range of motion on the shoulder, but it still allows you to practice all of the components of engaging the body for a press, especially with a kettlebell press. Now, all of the components of the single kettlebell floor press are going to be active in all of the other floor press variations. So if I'm using two kettlebells, I still want to think about engaging my glutes, engaging my abs. If I'm just pressing one of those kettlebells up at one time, I still want to think about engaging the opposite side. We'll talk about floor presses with an alternating press or a follow the leader style press where one kettlebell is locked out. But either way, all of the components of our single kettlebell floor press are going to be active and represented in all of the other floor press variations. Now, whereas with the single floor press, I can roll over to get the kettlebell and roll it back into position. With any floor press where I'm using two kettlebells, I really like to use leverage to pick those kettlebells up. So keeping the kettlebells close to the body, inserting the hands into the handles, and then engaging the core and using the core to pick the kettlebells up as you lay back versus curling them up with the arms. This style of picking the kettlebells up and putting them down just creates another safety mechanism for the shoulders. So practicing using leverage to pick those kettlebells up, core engagement, as opposed to using the arms. The start and stop position for these kettlebell floor presses are going to be the same with every variation. So I still want to have my elbow down by my hips. I still want to have the kettlebells directly over my elbows. Still want that lockout to be identical. I'm still thinking of the kettlebell being a little more in line with my abdomen than with my chest, and that's going to be the same with every variation of floor press that I'm going to introduce. The first variation that I'd like to talk about is the alternating floor press. I'm going to press one kettlebell up to full lockout, and as I pull that kettlebell down, I'm simultaneously going to be pressing the other one to full lockout so that they're crossing in the middle. The abs and the glutes are still the power source for this movement, but you have to focus a little bit more on controlling those kettlebells, because as that lockout unlocks to bring that kettlebell down and the other arm starts its press, sometimes the body has a hard time trying to figure out exactly where you're trying to put the force, or has a hard time trying to figure out what's the most important bell to control, the one coming down or the one going up. So the main thing is that we're thinking that they're moving at the same time and that they should be crossing in the middle. The next press variation that I like to do with the floor press is the follow the leader press, or the FTL press. Basic idea is that I'm going to press one kettlebell to full lockout, and then that's going to establish the position that my other arm is going to end up in. So I might press my left arm to full lockout, engage the elbow, let the arm stay fully engaged and locked out, and then I'm going to press the other kettlebell up to it. Either way, the main focus has to be on keeping the extended arm locked out the whole time, because again, as I focus on pressing that opposite kettlebell, that's going to want to direct some of my force to the pressing arm, which is going to want to take some of the force away from engaging that opposite arm. But it's most important that that arm that's locked out is engaged the entire time. So that's why I say try to focus as much as you can on keeping that arm locked out as I'm doing the opposite side press. The last floor press variation that I'm going to talk about is the double floor press. I'm pressing both kettlebells up at the same time and pulling both kettlebells down at the same time. Now, as I've mentioned, with each of the kettlebell press variations, we're still going to be thinking about core engagement and glute engagement, but when it comes to the double kettlebell floor press, it's going to be even that much more important, and the force that I'm creating by engaging the core muscles is going to go through those kettlebells simultaneously and evenly, both on the way up and on the way down. Now, as far as rep counts go, we're thinking of 1 to 5 reps depending on what weight that you're using. We still want to end up with full control of the movement by the time we finish our last set. So never compromise in control and coordination for number of reps or number of sets. Try out the different floor press variations. Let me know how you feel about them. As always, as with all the rest of the kettlebell movements that we're going to do, we're going to stay focused on safety and effectiveness, especially when we're doing the kettlebell floor press variations. This is Mujib from North Country Kettlebells talking about kettlebell floor presses.